Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have some very special guests with us, and Ted, fixed operations and vehicle acquisition is really the top of the conversation.
Sarah, you're so right. 2026 is the year of fixed ops, and we have some of the leaders in our industry with us here today. Skyler Chadwick from Cox Automotive is here. Tully Williams from the West Coast at the Niello Company
Thank
is with
you.
us, and the one and only Patrick Janes from vAuto by Cox Automotive. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Appreciate it very much for the invite.
Tully,
Thank you.
why don't you lead us off and give us maybe the big picture of where this is all going?
I think driveway acquisitions is such a huge, huge deal for the Niello company and for all dealerships. And a lot of times we think about, is that just a used thing or a sales thing? No, it's not. It's about retention, keeping people at the store and making sure we get two customers instead of one. Getting your service advisors bought in is the key to make this successful. Two is the process set up? Not the process from the sales department, but the process that you have with your service advisors. And how do we get them to lay it done to the next person to make it a great event? And of course, those cars we buy from the service drive, what are normally great used cars, right? They're maintained, they're fixed, recon is low, and they make the best used car. We convert them into a new car, and now we have a great used car, and now the service writer gets to close out two tickets because now he's going to get the new car customer and he gets to close a recon, and now that car is tied to him. So it's a benefit for everybody on service acquisition. We are all in at the Niello company.
Patrick, you're working with a lot of dealers around the country. What are you seeing at vAuto right now?
Well, I think what's starting to happen is we're creating this used car factory that goes through the service lane, right? So, and what we're trying to do, at least from a technology standpoint, is integrate all of that, the connected points, so that when the customer drives through that service drive, we are providing a valuation on their vehicle. We're looking at reconditioning opportunities as well as what they're going to need to spend money in the service department. But the sharp dealers, like Niello's, are doing things that give the customer an option. Do you really want to make that investment in service, or would you rather just trade it and get something fresh, right? And I think that's a great decision for a customer to be able to make. And I think it's a value-added service. It's not, hey, we're just harassing them while they're in service to buy their car. We're actually giving them a value proposition that I think most customers are interested in when they're facing maybe a pretty significant repair on that vehicle.
Can I chime in right there? I think that one thing you keyed on is that the service advisor normally is the most trusted person for the customer. And when that customer is bought into what you're saying and says like, hey, your repair is going to be about 4,000 or 5,000, do you really think about maybe trading that in? And they can think about it and have that discussion with the service advisor. It's a much better relaxed environment instead of sending them a text or an email saying, we want to buy your car for blank dollars. Having the service writer bought in is such a good deal.
And I might add, what we're finding from dealers is that process for the customer might take 12 or 13 days. Not many of those transactions actually happen the moment they're in the service drive.
100%.
It's providing that value, letting them know what it is. Perhaps there is some money back for that repair that they just spent that they can put towards down payment of the car they're going to trade in for. And we let that customer incubate on it a little bit because they were just coming in for service. Now, all of a sudden, they got an opportunity to get it into another vehicle. We are seeing huge success with the patience by dealers, putting a process in place that allows the customer to make that decision and then be able to come back and trade the vehicle. And it's a win-win for everybody.
100%.
Skyler, you work closely with the Niello company, with Tully. I've encountered you there at the dealerships several times that I've been there. What are you seeing right now as you work with dealers?
You know what? The opportunity is bigger than ever. Right? I'll bring some data analytics to this story here is that, we see the average vehicle in the road now is 12.8 from 12.6 last year. And Tully just talked about $4,000 to $5,000 is that mark. Well, customers are actually 40% more likely to trade in their vehicle when they're actually issued a $3,000 ticket. And so when you think about it, customers are really starting to think about, how do I convert my car into a newer car or a newer used car? So it's prime real estate right now for dealerships to really key in on those customers in the service lane. And what better auction that's going on today is your service customers.
Tully,
Piggyback on that as well, but you think about what makes this work is, are you driving retention in your store? At the Niello company, this is the year of retention. Is your store at 70% retention? This helps drive your retention and keep customers at your dealership, new and used, and service. Starts with retention. It starts with honesty and trust, which in turn gets a customer for life.
Tully, I want to come back on really just at the beginning because you were talking about what you just mentioned with retention and repeat and referral business, as we know, is very, very important to you and the Niello company. Walk us through some of the pieces that you've implemented. I mean, I know from the customer experience component, this doesn't just start in the lane. This starts well in advance with your BDC team, with a lot of cultivation. So walk us through what you've seen in your success.
Appreciate that. So BDC is a big deal for us. We started a BDC about a year and a half ago. A lot of your guidance helped us get that built out, and we have a great product that helps us run that. And we believe that people don't read emails. As I like to say, emails are in the all blacks, which means they haven't looked at. But when we call our customers, especially from that 10 to 12 months, we have almost an 80 to 85% answer rate. And then we usually have about a 90% appointment rate. Okay, that's insane, right? So the goal is going to be is that we have campaigns, get out of email and get into your BDC. But the next thing is going to be is that does your service advisors believe in repeat referral business? And I say we do now because we've seen it work. So what we do, we don't lose a brake, battery, or a tire sale. Our goal is that we focus on that religiously every day. Buy three, get one free. The Niellos pay for that. I lose money selling tires, but it's good for us because you know what? Our retention last year as a group, last month, was 71% because people are staying in our store. Our batteries are at 85% sale rate, and our brakes are pushing 70%, and I'm super upset about that number. So the goal is going to be is that are we targeting things that drive retention? It keeps people in the story, keeps people in our store, and then when they get ready for the next vehicle, guess what? It's a no-brainer. And if they buy the F&I products, that's what we're doing. If we sell them a service contract, they're doing the recon for them. So now we get a much better used car, even that. So it is a win-win all the way. Repeat and referral.
And you're beating you are winning the race to the customer,
100%.
right? Because I hear from dealers all the time, like, oh my gosh, these are disruptors who can, they can put a VIN in a system and they can pick up the car in the driveway, and we're losing business to that all the time.
Oh.
We see it in missed appraisals. The customers don't even consider that when you have this communication flow going with them. They know where they're going to trade the next vehicle. It's just a matter of when and how much.
And, too, I think the service writer helps in that, right? When they talk about, like, Mr. Customer, you spent, blank dollars on it. It's got about 60,000. It's a good time. Maybe you're thinking about trading in. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. Let's do some information on that. We'll get you a free quote. No pressure. Do you want to not do the repair today? I mean, the whole thing is that it's a calm and collective conversation, not a stress, buy, sell.
Skyler, I want to come back on the data because, again, Cox Automotive is really one of the leaders when you are analyzing and looking at all of the data and the information that dealers and customers need to be aware of. So, from the perspective of this acquisition process and the scheduler, what are you seeing in terms of how quickly customers are making this decision? Are you seeing it take longer? I mean, a lot of stores may think it's a 24-hour, same day kind of thing, but you're seeing a little bit more information across the entire industry.
Yeah, there's a 30% gap loyalty problem we have right now in the industry, and there's a lot of pressure on dealerships of retaining that customer. Like Tully is saying, that loyalty factor is a huge thing. We saw a 12% increase in general repair shops across the board, right? And these customers are more willing to go to these independents because they're much faster. But we got to keep our customers in that loyalty path here. And what's really most importantly about that question you asked, Sarah, is that when we think about customers, we got to get the decision in their hands. If we don't put that decision in their customers' hands, we're not doing it effectively. And so in our data, we see that customers are actually making decisions in 6 minutes or less on repairs. And so when you're using tools like Cox Automotive and the data, and we're connecting those data sources, it's a really powerful experience because now can I get that response from my customer? Hey, this customer is now declined. Let's notify the salesperson and let's get this process going. Is this customer ready to buy, right? Do they have buying signals? Do they have those types of things? Are we connecting that story? And so we can connect that story, and it's a really powerful story for sure.
And I want to piggyback on that is that the power of X time with us, we take video, is that when the customer is confident that our technicians are doing those quality inspections properly every time, and video backs that up, they get the value of that. That car needs blank dollars, and they see it and they trust that number. That helps them make those right decisions quickly because, do they want to fix it or do they want to trade it in? And I think you're spot on that, is that those decisions usually happen fairly quickly. because they have a repair in front of them. It's usually not they're coming in for an oil change and say, hey, I want to buy your car. It's usually that they have a repair to do it. So I think that is really good information.
Yeah. I think it's the vehicle journey. And Patrick and I could talk about the customer's vehicle journey. When we look at the actual customer's journey through Cox Automotive, is that customer on your actual website searching for vehicles? Are they an active shopper? We need to know those things. We got to get that data back to the right people for sure.
Yeah, I would just
Tully, I want to come back to your relationship with one of your great partners, and that is Cox Automotive. Tell us a little bit about how you use and utilize the Cox brands, and we'll be utilizing them here in 2026. Here you've got two leaders of Cox Automotive. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been a Next Time fan even before Cox bought them. Neil West is the one that invented it, and then Cox bought them and has actually made a great improvement. So, but I believe that if you have a great product like X Time that has a full package, there's always people who have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they might do a better job, but they don't have the package. And what X Time has is a package. The next thing is that you need to use it, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at people that buy packages, they're using it like 30, 40%. If I'm not using it 100%, I'm upset. So the goal is going to be is that are you using your product? Are you using your vendor? And then ask for the vendor for help. Skyler and I talk all the time. How do we improve this product? How do we make sure it works? But if I check it ain't 100%, I'm upset. If I'm not doing tech inspections 100%, I'm upset. If I'm not doing video inspections on every car, I'm upset. And if I don't send it to the customer, I'm even more upset. You know what I'm upset about? If they don't look at it. And we gauge that as well. And then what happens is that when the people at your store realize that if I do this process right, people say yes. And we get great CSI. Oh, what a concept that is. So having a great product and a great partner like Cox Automotive with X Time makes a huge difference. But all I can say is grind your vendors to get what you need at your store.
Patrick, can I come back to you on that? How important is the consistency, for example, that Niello company and others have with this process and making it happen day in and day out, utilizing the products?
Well, Tully points it out. I mean, it's on us as a technology partner to make sure that we are connected, that it's seamless. The data is flowing through every system in the process, that we can value the car, we can make offers. When a vehicle comes through the service drive, I started out by saying, hey, we could create this used car factory in the service lane. That's really our goal, is to make sure all of the points in that software provide a result that's actionable by the customer with less work by the dealer in terms of actually doing those tasks. And, we start talking about AI, that's where the opportunity is in AI. Is it going to replace people? Maybe not. But it's certainly going to make people do things that they couldn't do before much faster, and to be able to put a number on every car that comes through the service drive, be able to follow up with that customer, be able to give them a lot of options before someone else in the market gets to them. And I think that's on us as a technology partner.
And I think having the right technology partner is, I think we're at the tip of the iceberg right now of what's happening today. I think if you come back next year, this will be a whole different picture, and it's going to be so much better for the consumer and for the dealer. And I'm saying that right now we're kind of doing things a little bit clunky about, I'll walk you up to the front. But honestly, what it should happen is that when you drive through our cameras, what should they do? We drive through, it takes pictures of that car. Our great technicians do a quality inspection on that car. Guess what we got? We have the recon dollars set in stone, right? So now we give an exact price to a customer that's completely automated. You got to have great partners to help us do that. And that's where I see the next version of happening with our driveway acquisitions. It'll become more precise. The price will be better. Recon will be set in stone, which is always what usually happens. And we'll have better quality used cars for it.
Yeah, but how many customers actually leave service and pull back through to the front end of the business and ask for an evaluation on the car? And the salesperson has no idea that that customer just declined.
Right.
Just declined about $3,000 worth of work.
Sure.
We've now connected that at Cox Automotive. And that's the cool thing about our customer journey, is that we want to help see dealerships help protect that gross profitability, but know what's going in as a reconditioning process from the day one of it.
I'll give you a better scenario.
Go ahead.
They drive through and they decline all this service, and then they show up at another store in your group, and you didn't know, right? So like, they're there to trade the car at the sister store, and they had no idea that they just declined all this work over in the other service department. I mean, that insight is valuable. I mean, the reconditioning work's already been identified. They just declined a bunch of service at another store, right? So how easy is that appraisal? But if you don't have that information, we can't capitalize on it, and that's what we we are doing as a technology partner. That's awesome.
Skyler, recently you and Sarah and I had a conversation about 2026 really becoming the breakout year for fixed operations. I've noticed, and Sarah has noticed at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Tully, I think you have as well, that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we talked a lot about things like tools and oil and things like that and chemicals. And now we're talking a lot more about technology, okay? And Cox Automotive is leading that charge. Talk to us a little bit about what's in store in the near-term future, whatever you can tell us.
I have my want list.
Okay, before
Okay.
Tully gives us a list.
Tully has his want list. I think the biggest thing, what we've done this year from an X-Time perspective at Cox Automotive, is we really focused on the technician. We realized that technicians were spending 30% of their time writing their stories. Well, guess what? We're fixing that problem for dealerships today, where they can actually, AI can help technicians dissect those stories, and it's also going to improve warranty claims as well, speed up those things, make it more professional. So I'm really excited about that, and it's just the tip of the iceberg when we talk about fixed ops and AI. And then on the other side, the flip side, we also got to connect that to our inventory solutions too as well, and helping our salespeople, like I said before, having the customer's journey, understanding what that customer does. Have they been looking at vehicles? Have they declined services in the prior history that I need to be aware about so that I don't get stuck with a $2,000 reconditioning bill that takes my gross profitability away from that? So yes, we're connecting it. We're making it easier for dealerships. The thing about what Patrick says, AI is not going to replace jobs. It's going to be the people that don't use it are going to be the ones that are being affected for sure.
Amen on that.
100% on that.
Patrick, anything you want to comment on terms of the technology and the growth in technology in fixed ops in particular?
Well, to me, what AI is doing is it's speeding up the insights process, right? It's giving us more, we call it the DNA of the vehicle, right? So we're able to actually give the dealer actionable insights to be able to make decisions that, one, protect them from making a big mistake, which is very painful when we bring one of those cars in. But two, also maybe make a more accurate evaluation of the vehicle for the customer, be more informative, more transparent on the things that need to be done to that vehicle. And then everybody wins, right? Because nobody wants, a value on a car from an appraisal standpoint written in a green Sharpie on a worksheet, right? They want a little bit more context. And we hear that all the time from our consumer research. So we're trying to help them with that.
Sarah, I think 2026 is going to be a great year for fixed ops.
It is, Ted, and so much exciting opportunities ahead for Cox Automotive and the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Patrick, James, Skyler, Chadwick, Tully Williams from the Niello Company. Gentlemen, thank you for being a big part of what's happening in fixed operations today.
Thank you.
I'm Ted Ings with Sarah Vantine, and we will be right back.